Hi again, everyone. Welcome back to Relationship CPR. This is part two of a session that we're titling Quotes. If you missed our previous one, I'd invite you to take a look at that. That was just general. We have focused this one, and we've decided to focus this one a little bit more on specific leadership because, Ron, we are all leaders in our own way, whether they are recognized or not. Um, a leader is somebody that I think people strive to be, or sometimes they strive not to be. I think we have to be careful in what we want to be a leader for and why we want to be a leader. Let's make sure that our leadership is for good and not for ego. We could talk a lot about that. But
Yeah.
let's talk about some specific quotes. I've got a number, and you do too, from probably one of the premier leaders of leaders, and that's John Maxwell. But before we do it, I want to share one with an ex-president, John Quincy Adams. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, and become more, you are a leader.
Mm, mm,
Interesting.
yeah.
You have a quote or two from our friend John Maxwell, I think, Ron.
He says a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. It's one of the keys to me. And I'm self-employed. I work by myself. I don't lead people on a regular basis. Um, but you're right. We all should be leading people to Christ. Interesting use of the term there. But it's not about you. It's not about any leader who focuses on themselves, I think, is going to be a bad leader. It's more focusing on the people. I heard a funny expression, there they go, I must hurry, I'm their leader. Um,
Yes.
it's a heavy responsibility, but I would think a joyful one if you do it right, if you do it from the spirit of service. And how can you be a blessing and empower others? So, yeah.
Your statement reminds me a little bit of a cliche, perhaps, but it is important. Leadership. Leadership is not just dictation,
Mm,
but true leadership is servant leadership.
right.
And what you had just said reminds me of this quote here by John. The measure of a leader is not the number of people who serve him, but the number of people he serves.
Mm, mm,
Leadership. You talked about example. You talked about that. That's so important that we have, especially in this day and age, that we have a servant leadership. It reminded me of the quote that I've used so often: people don't care how much you know
right.
until they know how much you care.
Right. Right. Which brings to mind a Zig Ziglar quote. And again, this generation does not know Zig Ziglar. The young
Yeah,
generation,
yeah.
and boy, that's a shame. Of course, our generation was only vaguely familiar with Will Rogers, and that's probably a shame as well. But Zig Ziglar always used to say, you can have anything you want in life as long as you help enough other people get what they want in life.
Yes.
And while not directly a quote on leadership, I think it is. I think if you
Mhm.
want to be a good leader, it's not just about you and what can people do for you, it's about others and what can you do to help them get what they want. They'll follow you anywhere.
I think both of those folks that you quoted, it's worth. I still have Zig Ziglar's book that even today I'll go back and reread every once in a while. Just there's some good things.
Mhm.
Mark Twain, some of the people, they're dealing with people really doesn't change with time, does it, Ron?
Mhm.
Really
No,
doesn't.
no, there are principles to life that, again, most of them track right back to the Bible. So we shouldn't be surprised.
There's a real tie in.
Mhm.
And we've talked at our last session about some of the best quotes, and maybe we'll do one of those down the road from the Bible. People have their own things that mean different things to them from the Bible. Let me give you another one as our time is running quickly. The best we talked about the importance of people, but this is from Maxwell. The best leaders are humble enough to realize that their victories depend on their people.
Mhm. Mhm.
Kind of takes that ego out of it a little
Yeah.
bit and gets that focus off of me, myself, and I, and onto those that really where it needs to be. That's really a true leader.
Yeah, yeah. And here's another one that I see from Maxwell here. Leaders become great not because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others. So that, again, goes in line with what you just said. And I think we're seeing a what's the word I'm looking for? A theme here.
Yes.
True leadership is not self or ego focused. It's
Yes.
others focused. And I like that. I like that a
Have a
lot.
goal in mind and a team that you rally behind. I enjoy watching. We just finished with the Super Bowl, and I'm not a big fan of that particular one, but I enjoy watching sports. But I do like to watch the coach, and I like to watch nights ago for a little while, and they started headed downhill. The players out there, coach calls timeout, gets them together. Okay, guys, let's refocus, let's reorganize, let's re-energize. And he has to have the respect of those players, and they have to be able to trust that what he says is going to be there. Right. And so leadership really, I'll share with this one with you as we begin to wind down our time. Leadership has less to do with position than it does with disposition. Ooh. Have you noticed in maybe in companies, in friendships, in churches even, the true leaders may not have the title, but because of who they are and the confidence and what they have built up, they are the true leaders. Whenever I go into a church or a group of people, I try to establish really who are the true leaders, who are the pillars of this institution. And sometimes they have a title, but sometimes they don't.
Right, right. You know, that brings to mind Simon Sinek.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Something about why, the power of why, or I don't think he wrote why, maybe Why Ask Why. That might be his book. But he said a boss has the title, a leader has the followers. And doesn't that fit real well with what you just said? Yeah, you can have the title, you can be the boss, you may not be a great leader at all. You may have no title whatsoever, and you can be the best leader in the whole organization. So, or church for that matter. Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful one to end. Say that one more time slowly, because I want everybody to understand this.
All right. I'm looking at my clock. I think we got a few more minutes, but
do we have a loop? Okay.
I think we do. I want to hear at least one more from you, but
okay.
A boss has the title, a leader has the followers. And I'll throw in one more real quick that I see here by Joe DiMaggio. Joe DiMaggio, yes, famous baseball player, has a record that I don't think will ever be broken. He hit safely in 54 straight games.
Yep.
I don't think that one's going to be broken. A person always doing his or her best becomes a natural leader just by example. Some power in that also, I believe. Just do your best. Don't focus on how well am I leading? How good a leader am I? You know what? Just do your best. Care about others. Do your best. You'll be a leader.
There you go. Yeah. A leader is great, not because of his or her power, but because of his or her ability to empower others.
Yeah, that's what I just said. See, we're on the same mind. We're thinking the same. We're thinking the same thoughts today, Lonnie. There you go.
That's kind of scary. I have down 44. John Maxwell, and I'm picking out the ones that go with what you're saying as well. Yeah. But yes, there is truly, and you know, we look at some of the leaders in the Bible and over history. But in the Bible, I look at Moses, you know, for example, probably the premier leader of the most difficult group of people in the most difficult time. Yeah. And yet when God said there in Mount Sinai, I'm going to destroy them and I'll start over with you. So many times, oh, that sounds so good. But he said, how did he respond to God? He said, no, if you're going to wipe them out, wipe me out too. They are my people. Yeah. And we look at him and we look at Abraham Lincoln. And the more we look into the life of Abraham Lincoln, and we see that he didn't necessarily have a happy life necessarily. But boy, he had a life of conviction, a life of dedication and doing what was right in the eyes of the Lord and in his own heart. Yeah. And as we look back in time, we look and we have appreciation for the leaders that we have. And that's really what I look for in leaders, and both in my own life and in my church and in my country, is leaders who will really do what's right. And that's another saying that that I like is, it's not always easy, but always do what's right.
Yeah. Let me give you my last quote. A leader who lacks humility is not a leader at all. Ron Price just said that. I just made it up. But based on what you said, though, Moses was a great leader. I agree with you. He's also called the meekest man on earth.
Yes.
Who ever lived, not weakest. He wasn't weak at all.
Yes.
It wasn't about him. He was surrendered to God, and he was
Yep.
serving his people. So yeah, humility is a huge, huge component of effective leadership. I sure think. I don't expect you to argue with me, are you?
I tell you, I struggle with that at times. Things work out well, and it's easy to get a little bit of a puffed chest, so the head swells just a little bit. And conversely, when I screw up, it's easy to get depressed and down. And if I really understand the way things are, all leadership is dictated, all leadership is given, and it's earned. And it is a blessing to use. It is a gift from God to be able to use our influence. Like I said, we're all leaders in our own sphere. And what a blessing it is to influence each other. And my hope and my prayer, and I used to talk about this at length with my teachers, is, it's the influence that you have in your kids. The math is important, the history is important, the reading is important. But what's really important is the core values, the inner core values. And leadership, as we go through this, from John Maxwell to Seneca to all the folks that we've talked about, without core values, true leadership really is not there, and can end up being a true disappointment.
Yeah. Yep. Sounds like a brilliant idea to me. Great way to close out too.
All right. I love that light bulb. Time to turn off the electricity. Folks, have a great day. Blessings on you as you continue. Don't become discouraged. We look forward to seeing you next time on Relationship CPR. Goodbye, Ron. Have a great day.
Bye, Lonnie. Thank you. God bless.
Bye-bye.